Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Who's happy that it's Friday today? For how many of you is today not your Friday? Ooh, oh, one. Well, happy Friday to those of you for whom it is Friday, and happy whatever other day it might be for others here. Thanks for joining us this morning for this town hall. It's great to be doing a town hall. It's also fun this time. If you notice, we have a camera in the back. We're recording this town hall for purposes of trying to share information more broadly. And I was sort of laughing coming in here this morning, thinking about when I was a teenager. You know, you listen to, at least I don't know about the rest of you, I listened to some records when I was a teenager. And whenever the bands would record a live album, they would make a joke to the audience about, "You're going to be on a record." I felt like Mick Jagger up here. I'm not gonna do Satisfaction for you though, so don't worry about that. Yeah, I'm not gonna dance. I'm not gonna sing, but you are gonna be on a record. We are gonna start off with a reflection, as we usually do, and actually it's a little bit of a special reflection. There's a story that we're gonna share with you this morning in the spirit of human kindness, and I've asked Lori Bateman, our clinical supervisor in endoscopy, to step up and share a really wonderful story with you. So, Laura?
Thank you. Now I'm on record. We had a mother of a patient recently that came to us and expressed their joy with her experience and her son's experience with us. Endoscopy, we do several different things there, and we've added that a patient just needing some lab work for whatever reason with sedation can come to our department. And we had this mother call the day before her son's lab work call, and she was very concerned because he has mental challenges and he needed some sedation. So she'd gotten all the orders and everything from the doctor, and they had done a dry run over the weekend, and she was worried about the amount. So she called the department, and we actually linked her up with an anesthesiologist, and they said, "No, don't up the dose, don't do anything. What you're doing is perfect. Come in, we'll make sure that everything goes well." So they did come in the next day, and it was very good for her and her son, and they comforted her. Everybody jumped in. We have a lot of L's up there, so we had Elisa that helped tour them around the department, make them feel comfortable. Laura jumped in and helped. I had taken the phone call the day before. I'm Lori, but then we had Cher, and Cher really took the comfort of this patient and stroked their hand, hummed to them while the labs were being drawn. He didn't need any additional sedation, and the mother called back just extremely thrilled. And Cher is here, so I want her to stand up and be acknowledged because it was so wonderful. Thank you, Cher. She said that the mother called and said that it took longer for getting her son ready that day. He is an adult, but it took longer to get him ready for that day than it did for the entire time that they were in the hospital, and she was thrilled. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori. And Cher, thank you so much. You know, one of the things that is so inspiring about this human kindness movement is that it's really a continuation of who we are and what we've always done here at Mercy Gilbert. We've used different language. We've used language around being a healing hospital and sacred encounters and the golden thread of healing and all the tradition and the history that's so rich here at Mercy Gilbert. The human kindness movement, we call it, I've been calling it, really is a continuation of who we are and what we've always been here at Mercy. And it's, you know, sometimes it's seemingly just the smallest touch, but what I find so inspiring about it is that it calls us to remember why we got into this business in the first place. And I like to say that while the environment around us, the industry that we work in is incredibly complex these days, the work we do really is very simple, and it's about taking care of people when they need us the most. And Cher's experience with the patient in endo is a wonderful, wonderful example of that. So I would invite all of you to share your human kindness stories. Get online onto the website, share them with me, and we'll tell stories. It's such a wonderful way to keep the spirit of Mercy Gilbert alive and thriving. So thank you so much for that story. That's terrific. I have a number of updates that I'm going to share with you today. but I also want to answer any questions that you might have. So feel free to raise your hand if there's something I'm not talking about, or if you want me to kind of shift gears, or if you have questions about whatever I'm talking about, please feel free to interrupt. That's just fine. And I'm not looking at the screen. I'm looking down. I have a secret iPad up here in front of me so I can actually follow along. We're going to start off with a few introductions, but I think I have to advance. Tell me what's on the screen. Did that go forward? Great. We're going to start off with some introductions. We have at least 4 new leaders that have joined us recently, some of whom are here today, some of whom are not. First on the left, you see a photo. I don't think that Dr. Moore is here. Dr. Forrest Dell Moore, he goes by Dell, just joined the organization within the last week. Actually, this week was his first week here. Dr. Moore is our new medical director for the Level 1 Trauma Center at Chandler Regional. And he joins us with a rich background in critical care medicine, trauma surgery, spent a number of years at St. Joe's. He has worked at some other unnamed healthcare organizations in the Arizona market. And now he comes on board full-time as our trauma medical director, which is wonderful. And under Dr. Moore's leadership, we are continuing the process of getting ourselves ready for the the Level 1 designation at Chandler. He will also provide assistance with our work toward Level 3 trauma designation here at Mercy Gilbert. So we'll get him introduced to you, and if you see him, please stop him and say hello. We also have, I think with us, Michael. There's Michael. Can you stand up and wave, Mike? I am happy to welcome Mike Haggard here as our new Director of Perioperative Services at Mercy Gilbert. Mike has been with us for a few months, serving in an interim role, joined us again from an unnamed healthcare organization. And he came to the light, and we are just absolutely thrilled to have Mike with us. So Michael, welcome. Thank you. Also, we have a new site director in IT. Terry is here. Terry Schuler. You all know that Jim Caffrey, who was with us for a long time, decided to retire against my advice. So that's the bad news. The good news is that we were able to attract Terry to join us. Terry served for a number of years up at St. Joe's, and so has been part of the Dignity Health family for some time, and we are thrilled to have you out here. So welcome, Terry. And finally, we have Sandy Heron-Torres, who is with us as well. Stand up and wave, Sandy. Sandy joins us as our new admitting director in the East Valley market. Sandy's been with the organization for a long time, more than a couple of decades. How's that? I won't be specific, but a number of years of great service over at Chandler Regional. She started off, she tells me, with a paper route at Chandler and advanced through many roles associated with patient financial services and admitting. So welcome, Sandy. We're glad you're here. Are there any other new faces in the audience that we should introduce? All right. I think then, moving ahead, let me talk about a few other leadership changes that have been going on in the area. Two specifically, we've had a recent consolidation in public relations and marketing across the entire Dignity Health Arizona service area. So you all know Paul Soblowski. Paul has been our Vice President of Public Relations, Marketing, and Communications here in the East Valley for a number of years. Paul recently was promoted to a similar role over the entire Arizona market. So what we've done here is we have essentially consolidated all of our marketing, public relations, advertising, communications functions across all of our hospitals and the entire health system in Arizona, with the intent to be more coordinated in our advertising efforts, in our internal and external communications efforts. What we found historically was we weren't always in complete sync across the hospitals in timing of important communications, in marketing and advertising efforts, and similar sorts of activities. So this change will put the entire organization for public relations and marketing under a single leadership structure, and the teams at each hospital will work very, very closely together to coordinate efforts, create a common message, make sure that we're working together on the timing of our communications and those sorts of things. So it's a terrific move, I think. I think it will make us much, much better, much cleaner, much more coordinated in our efforts. And I'm really pleased to announce that Paul has been promoted into that vice president role for the entire Arizona market. So that's good news. The second change that's listed on this slide is in human resources. Again, across all of Dignity Health, we are moving more toward a centralized, consolidated approach to management of human resources. And we are as is not uncommon on the cutting edge, on the front edge here in the Arizona market. We actually have been moving down this path for some time. We are really on the leading edge of some of the more significant leadership changes. And so what I am happy to announce today is some changes in the leadership structure for human resources here in the East Valley. What we're doing is we're consolidating from having 2 directors of human resources separately at each of our 2 hospitals to 1 director of human resources. And again, I'm happy to announce that Anita Harger, I don't believe Anita is here this morning, but Anita, as probably all of you know, the Director of Human Resources here at Mercy Gilbert, will take over a role of Human Resources Director for both hospitals out here in the East Valley. And Renee Brunke, who has served for many years and done a fabulous job as the Director of Human Resources at Chandler, is moving into a new role within Human Resources. So Renee's not leaving us, she's not going anywhere, she's actually staying positioned right at Chandler, and she's going to have a position entitled Employee Engagement Manager across the entire Arizona service area. So her role will actually expand. She'll continue to support employee activities out here in the East Valley, but will also have a role up at St. Joe's as well. So that is, again, a move that's intended to help us be more coordinated, more standardized around our human resources practices, provide support that is more consistent to our employees, and really have a more collaborative approach to human resources. So those are, and then I also mentioned Amy O'Donnell is the new Dignity Health HR Service Center Director for the Arizona market. Amy has worked up at St. Joe's. She will oversee the Service Center, which we'll talk a little bit more about. So those are a couple of changes that are upon us in leadership. I'm going to pause. I actually meant to do 2 more introductions as I got started. We are really blessed this morning to have a couple of our board members with us, and I want to just acknowledge first Sister Nancy Perlick, who's over here on your left, my right. Sister Nancy is the chair. Sister Nancy is the chairwoman of our hospital community board for both hospitals, Mercy Gilbert and Chandler Regional, and we are happy to have you with us this morning. And we also have Dr. Maria Hesse with us from our board. Dr. Hesse is the Vice Provost for Academic Partnerships at Arizona State University, and we're thrilled that she serves on our board, and also is the chair of our newly formed Community Benefits Committee. So welcome. Glad you're both here. All right, so what do we have next? We have, I talked about some of the changes that are happening in human resources. A change in support that's going to be available to all of us with respect to our benefits. And I hope I'm talking about what you're all seeing on that slide there. There's a new portal. We're moving to an approach for support, for online support with respect to benefits and total rewards. So instead of having on-site assistance for benefits, questions, and support in each of our hospitals, again, we're moving to more of a consolidated, consistent model and a lot greater use of technology to help all of us. So what you see is a snapshot of the new portal with respect to benefits. And so the current on-site benefit support will be replaced by Dignity Health's new Total Rewards portal that you see there, dignityhealthmembers.org/total rewards. What the website will provide is 24/7, 365 access and information for all of us to manage your benefits, manage your health, manage pay and compensation related issues, and other career related things that you need help with. There is also a 24/7 telephone number that you can call and talk to somebody within the service center. And the number you see there on the screen, this portal has been available for some time. How many of you have accessed it? I see lots of hands. I've used it a lot. I think it's fabulous. It's easy to get the information that you need, and then if you need any additional help that you don't find on the portal, you can call, and you can also talk to Anita if you need additional help. But it's a great tool. There's a tremendous amount of information on that site, not only to kind of tell you where you are with your choices and your benefits and those sorts of things, but also to make changes. So it's live and interactive, and you can get questions answered, and you can make changes as you need to. So that is a nice change, and I hope you're all finding it user-friendly. If you have any questions or comments about it as you use it, feel free to let me know, let Anita know, let your supervisor know, and we will pass that along to make sure that it's as user-friendly and beneficial as it can be. That move? All right. We also are happy to announce a new peer recognition opportunity here at Mercy Gilbert, the Values in Action program. It's actually a recognition program that's been in existence at other Dignity Health facilities for some time. We're introducing here at Mercy Gilbert. It's an opportunity for all of you to recognize peers for reaching out, doing special things, going above and beyond, expressing human kindness in whatever form that might be. So when you catch a peer doing something wonderful for a patient, for a family, for one another, you have the opportunity to nominate them for for a Values in Action award. And we are going to award, remind me, Karen, 5 per quarter of the Values in Action award. And there will be a committee that will review all the nominations and make the selections. There will be a number of nice prizes that people have access to if they win the award, including cash prizes. I think there's a $200 cash award if you win the Values in Action. $250. We've bumped it up since I last heard about it. So you see that the deadline for the first round is September 27th. The forms are available online. You can see the site there. And we'll have our first Values in Action celebration in mid-October. So keep your eyes open. Nominate your friends and colleagues and physicians for expressing all the wonderful things that we're all about here at Mercy. So that's the new Values in Action program. Let me talk a little bit about some of our quality goals for the new year and some of our performance over the last year. So we are just beginning our new fiscal year, as I think you all know, in July, and we are in the process of reestablishing goals for all of our hospitals for the new year. I want to share with you some of those goals around patient satisfaction and quality. One important area of emphasis in terms of HCAHPS this year are patient satisfaction surveys that we do. One goal is focusing on communication about medications. This is actually a continuation of a goal that we've been focusing on for some time. What I'm sharing with you here is that there are 2 questions on the HCAHPS surveys that we give out to our patients related to medications. And the goal that we have, you see there is a compilation of the scores on those 2 questions. And the questions are, number 1, before giving you any new medicine, how often did hospital staff tell you what the medicine was for? And second, before giving you any new medicine, how often did hospital staff describe possible side effects in a way that you can understand? So that emphasis on side effects. You can see that our target, which is the number of people that tell us that we always do those things, our target is 65.75%, and that's essentially the average of the responses on those 2 questions. And you can also see where we ended up the last year performance. We were just about 61%. So our goal is to improve from that 61% level up to close to 66%. And you can see also those 2 scores are our performance in 2013 on each of the questions. So we actually have done really quite well with respect to our target on the first question, telling patients what medications are for. Where we have our challenges is in that second question, telling patients about possible side effects. And let me show you what that looks like graphically. So the blue bar shows you the results this last year for Chandler on the left, Mercy Gilbert in the middle, and St. Joe's on the right. The blue bar has been our experience on the first question, telling the purpose of the medication, and you can see in the middle there at Mercy we've been over 70%. The red bar on the right is our performance historically in that question related to side effects. So our performance has been not so good there, about 50% here at Mercy in the last year. And that little green triangle in the middle is our goal for the year. So really what we very much need to focus on is communicating potential side effects. Both of these questions are hugely important. If we can bring up our performance on the question about side effects, then up to where we are in our performance on the question about purpose of medications, we'll knock it out of the park. So a real strong emphasis on communication overall with patients, particularly an emphasis on communication around medication side effects this year. Okay? Next goal area for us has to do with hand hygiene. You've probably heard something about hand hygiene recently, and I love this little tagline that we're using: share human kindness, not germs. You all know that the single most significant thing that we can all do to prevent the spread of infection is wash our hands. And we need to be up close to 100%. We have secret shoppers, secret hand washing observers running around the hospital, watching how we do in all areas. And you can see right now our performance is nowhere near where it needs to be in the hospital. And you can really draw a direct line between our performance on hand washing and infection rates in the hospital. Most recent data show that we're at about 61% compliance at Mercy Gilbert. We really need to be up at 100%. There's really no reason that we should not all be compliant with washing hands. And what we've listed here is what we've called key moments for hand hygiene. Before or upon entering a patient's room, we should always wash our hands with the alcohol hand rubs. Before touching a patient, before any procedure, after touching a patient, after removing gloves, upon leaving a patient's room, after a procedure or any sort of exposure to body fluid. And all the time, anytime you're around. So this is a real significant quality-related goal that we have for the year to get this back up to close to 100%. We've actually seen a drop-off here in Mercy over the last year or so. And I want to share with you some of the areas in the hospital are doing very, very well, and some areas have particular opportunity for improvement. I want to give a real shout-out and congratulations to 2B on this graph. You see 2B, most units have seen pretty significant improvement over the last 3 months. 2B in particular is well above 80% at this point, so great job there. I think we all have a lot to learn from 2B, and we may be knocking on your door and coming to watch how you do things on 2B, so great job there. Okay, so 2 other areas of emphasis in terms of our quality goals for 2014. The first is a combination of a number of quality-related metrics on the inpatient and the outpatient side, hospital inpatient, outpatient quality reporting. This is a complicated goal in a sense for the year, but let me describe it this way. We have a long list of quality measures. There are 39 eligible measures that make up this overall goal. And what we're trying to do within each of these measures is achieve 98% compliance. Make sense? So 39 goals, 98% compliance on each and every one of them. The target is that we hit that 98% compliance on 56% of those measures. So is that clear as mud? 39 measures, we want to hit 98% compliance on each of them. Our target for the year is to hit that 98% on just over half of those measures, right? So who can tell me some examples of what those measures might be? Skip measures, yep. Surgical care improvement measures, those sorts of things. So we have a long list of measures. You will see them, and that's what our goal for that particular measure for the year is. And secondly, we have a real strong emphasis on our stroke care for the year, evidence-based measures in stroke. And the goal here is the percent of patients that receive our entire stroke bundle. It's an all or nothing sort of measure. And our target is that 85% of the eligible patients receive that complete stroke bundle. Okay, so those quality measures are areas of emphasis across all of Dignity Health, and you will see results on a monthly basis in terms of our performance on those quality measures for fiscal year 2014. A little bit of information about how we're doing right now in our patient satisfaction. You can see as we wrapped up fiscal year 2013, we continue here at Mercy Gilbert to be at or near the top of many categories of patient satisfaction across Dignity Health. So these are rankings across the entire organization. We finished number 2 at Mercy Gilbert for quietness in the hospital, which is fabulous. Number 3 for the overall ranking of patient satisfaction, which is wonderful. Number 3 in terms of patients' willingness to recommend the hospital to families and friends. Number 3 in our outpatient areas, overall ranking. Number 3 in radiology. Number 3 in end of life. And number 5 in speech therapy. So you should give yourselves a big round of applause. Wonderful performance. I'm especially proud of those top 2. The quietness ranking, which is something that we always focus on here at Mercy, and the next one, overall, that's really the summary ranking of what our patients say about us. So really excellent results in a year of a lot of change and a lot of challenges, and keep it up. So the next picture I'm going to show you has a lot of red on it, and I actually debated whether or not to show this picture, but I want you to see it. We have always done very, very well here at Mercy with respect to patient satisfaction and our HCAP scores. And relatively speaking, we still do very, very well. We have very aggressive targets, however, because we set the bar high here, and we strive to be top of the top. So what you see here is the results of our scores compared to our targets in the 10 HCAPS categories for 2013. And that leftmost column with all that red shows that we actually missed the targets in each of those composites for fiscal year 2013. We were close in several, and as I said, the goals are very, very high. So for example, down toward the bottom, you see the question, would you recommend this hospital to your friends and family? That's the recommend composite. We actually scored at 82%. So 82% of our patients told us that they would recommend Mercy Gilbert to their friends and family, which is a really high score. And when you compare that to performance across the country, it's very high. But because we've always been top of the top here at Mercy, we had a goal of 83%. That's why it's red. So we have work to do. I'm proud to say that we have very aggressive goals. We should have aggressive goals because Mercy Gilbert, as far as I'm concerned, should have the top patient satisfaction scores in the entire free world. And so we set the goals high. We have very aggressive stretch goals, and we should and we will in the new year. I also want to call out maternal-child health, right in the middle of that picture. You see a column of green. That's an area in which we have done fabulously well. We have met all of our targets, and typically, maternal-child health at this hospital scores close to the 99th percentile nationwide in patient satisfaction. So great job to all of you who work at that. Hey, Jane, take the mic, would you? Because you're being recorded.
What I just wanted to point out is a lot of times we can say, oh, maternal-child health, they're going to get good scores because everybody's happy in there and they're coming in for a big happy event. But when you look at maternal-child health rankings across the country, some hospitals, it's the lowest ranking department in there because there are great expectations and it can sometimes be very hard to meet those very high expectations. So I just want to say kudos again and echo yours because it's not necessarily a slam dunk for that department.
Yep. Thank you. And just to keep piling it on to maternal-child health, when I talk about being 99th percentile, those are comparisons to other maternal-child health services. So when you look across the country at maternal-child health, we are the top of the top, so that's great. Let me talk about growth a little bit. Did I get us to the service line slide?
Yes.
Nope, okay. You know, technology really should allow me to hook up my iPad and flip the slides here, so maybe next time I'll join the modern era here. We have a number of initiatives that we're working on with respect to growing our business here at Mercy Gilbert and across the Arizona service area. So let me touch on a few of them. Trauma center designation, just a quick update. We are smack in the middle of working very hard toward achieving our trauma certification, our level 1 trauma certification at Chandler Regional, our level 3 trauma designation here at Mercy Gilbert. I mentioned earlier that we had hired Dr. Moore as our medical director for trauma over at Chandler. And now that Dr. Moore is on board, we are really pushing hard on the physician arrangements that are essential to achieving those trauma designations. So we are, for example, within trauma surgery, as you know, we need to have trauma surgeons in the hospital 24/7 at Chandler Regional to achieve our level 1 designation. We are working on those arrangements, which will involve very likely actually hiring in a number of trauma surgeons to be employees of the organization, as well as partnering with community surgeons that may have an interest in being part of the trauma program. So we're working on solidifying those arrangements with all the subspecialties that we need to have close at hand: trauma surgery, neurosurgery, plastics, orthopedics, all the others. We are working on a timeline at Chandler right now to achieve the level 1 trauma designation next spring. You may have seen some articles in the Arizona Republic recently that talked about us moving the timeline out. There was no new news in those articles. We had been talking about that for some time. We originally had planned on achieving our trauma designation this summer, about now actually. We decided to push that back to next spring over at Chandler, mostly to get through the winter season. We found last January, we were on average 95% full. The hospital was 95% full at Chandler. If we had loaded trauma patients on top of that, I'm not sure where we would have put them. So that was the primary reason we decided to push the timeline out for the trauma program at Chandler. It also took us a little bit longer than we anticipated to hire our medical director. But the plan now is to push ahead, achieve the designation next spring, get through this winter season, and then achieve the trauma designation in the spring. And then by the time the next flu season hits, we'll have the new tower open over at Chandler. So, and we're working very closely between the two hospitals on the level 1 designation at Chandler, the level 3 designation over here at Mercy. I can't tell you exactly when we're going to achieve the level 3 designation at Mercy. We're working with Dr. Moore on the process of hiring a part-time medical director for trauma here and putting in place all the protocols and the physician arrangements that we need here. I'm hopeful that we might be able to move quicker over here at Mercy, but we're working on generating a new timeline now that we have Dr. Moore on board. So that's an important part of our future. Secondly, congratulations. I'm happy to report, and I think all of you probably know this, but we recently achieved a very nice recognition here at Mercy Gilbert that we received the total joint, the Joint Commission's accreditation for our total joint replacement program in hips and knees. And I want to extend a thank you and a congratulations to Jen Cruz, who is here, and Rudy Apodaca, and Dr. Kip Sharp, who really led the effort to achieve this designation. It took us just under a year to achieve the designation, and the designation requires a significant amount of work and meeting a very long list of criteria with respect to quality and protocols and how we organize ourselves to make sure that our outcomes for hip and knee replacement are top-notch. That's very, very fast. I think it's probably fair to say it usually takes probably twice that long to achieve the designation, and we are the first hospital in Maricopa, first and only hospital in Maricopa County to achieve that recognition. So it's a real stamp of approval and something that we're gonna use to our advantage in recruiting new patients and really showing off the great things we do here at Mercy. So Jen, congratulations. And speaking of orthopedics, I think many of you know that we have a new group of orthopedic surgeons, Ortho Arizona, who have joined the staff here at Mercy, and we've undergone a transition in our orthopedic groups. Ortho Arizona is becoming busier and busier, and you all recall that the Core Institute left Mercy Gilbert some 6 or 8 months ago. Ortho Arizona has moved in. They have 11 doctors on staff now and are very quickly replacing that volume and keeping us busy here at the hospital. The good news recently is Ortho Arizona opened up a new office just about 2 weeks ago, just north of us in the Rome Towers. So they are here in the area permanently now and getting busier and busier, and really a pleasant group to work with. They're collaborating with us very closely on things like the total joint program. Our outcomes since the Ortho Arizona group joined the hospital are better. We've seen significant improvements in a number of areas, including infection prevention and some other areas. So they're a terrific group to work with. I hope you all have the opportunity to meet them. Orthopedics will continue to be a central, critically important part of the identity for Mercy Gilbert for years to come. And that partnership with Ortho Arizona will really be at the heart of the growth of our orthopedics program. Level 3 NICU in the East Valley. I think that I've mentioned in the past that we're going through a process to evaluate the possibility of a higher level NICU out here in the East Valley. I don't know if we'll decide to do this or not, but as you all know, the population is growing very fast out here. It's a young population. We currently operate a level 2E nursery over at Chandler, which allows us to take care of babies 28 weeks and above. We're a level 2 nursery here at Mercy, but in the process of moving to a level 2E as well. As we have looked at population demographics, we have looked at the competitive environment, we've asked ourselves, might it make sense to move to a level 3 NICU out here in the East Valley? So the analysis that we're going through is basically answering 3 questions. 1, does it make strategic sense to put a level 3 NICU out here? Is there enough patient volume? And is there a community need for it? What does it mean for us competitively? Second, what does it mean financially? Because it's a very complex and expensive undertaking to move to that higher level of NICU services. And number 3, if the answer to those previous questions are yes, then where does it make sense to do it? Does it make sense to put a level 3 NICU here at Mercy Gilbert, or does it make sense to put a level 3 NICU over at Chandler? Very complicated questions and pros and cons to each option. I don't have an answer yet, but I'll tell you that we are probably about 3/4 of the way through our analysis. What we are up to right now is expanding that discussion to include St. Joe's, because one of the things that we've discovered in our analysis is a lot of the higher level newborn intensive care patients, a lot of those patients that their families live down here in the East Valley, they currently go up to St. Joe's to receive level 3 NICU services. And so if we were to build out a level 3 NICU down here, what we're going to do is pull a lot of that volume out of St. Joe's and move it down here to the East Valley, which is good in the sense that it's closer to home, it's more convenient for families, but it's also moving patient volume from one of our hospitals to another. And that's a complicated thing to think through. So more to come on that. We hope to be able to speak more definitively about that in upcoming town halls and other forums. So we'll keep you posted on that. Pediatrics at Mercy Gilbert. I've reported before that it's always been my thought that we will be back into the business of taking care of children here at this hospital. We continue the dialogue with Phoenix Children's on the possibility of reopening an inpatient pediatric unit here at Mercy. We're not quite done with those discussions. We are right in the middle of figuring out the model under which we would do that. There are various ways that you might structure pediatric care in partnership with Phoenix Children's. One of which would be doing it under the license of Phoenix Children's Medical Center. The other would be doing it under our license here at Mercy Gilbert. Not to bore you with all the gory details. It's complicated. There are a lot of implications of doing it various ways. But we are very actively in discussion with Phoenix Children's. Both organizations are very excited about the possibility of reopening pediatrics here, not just in the short term and having a pediatric unit, but also planning for the long-term presence of pediatrics at this hospital and taking care of more complex pediatric cases down here over time, and really making pediatrics more of an identity service here at Mercy Gilbert into the future. So again, more to report over the coming weeks, and hopefully we'll be able to have some exciting news here in the future about pediatrics. So we'll keep you posted. Cardiovascular co-management, we've talked about this in the past. This is a new arrangement that we have formed with our cardiovascular physicians, a new partnership. The doctors all formed a new company. They've called it H2O. Cute name. It stands for Heart Health Organization. We have formed a new relationship with the cardiovascular doctors, whereby they are very, very involved in helping us develop protocols and manage the cardiovascular business to improve quality and drive down costs. We together are working on a long list of quality metrics to improve our quality performance in cardiovascular care. It also means that we have a cardiologist in the hospital 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day actually. We've got a cardiologist in the hospital ready to see patients, ready to respond when consults are needed, help take care of patients immediately and move them through the course of their care. So that arrangement is working very well. And we're also working on a similar arrangement with the orthopedic surgeons right now to involve them in a significant way in driving better outcomes and patient throughput with respect to orthopedic care. And then finally, the newly renovated telemetry unit. I think Jerry's probably pleased to report that that unit is now open. And we took the opportunity during what is typically our slower season to get in there and do a fair renovation of the entire unit. We replaced the carpet on that unit with flooring, and we painted every room and took care of just some upkeep that was needed after 7 years of being open. So the unit looks great. It's back open now, and we're going to continue to work our plan over time as volume allows to do similar renovations on all the other units throughout the hospital. Tower C. Construction over at Chandler Regional on the new patient tower is going very, very well. We are scheduled now to open in mid-September of 2014, which is about 4 months ahead of schedule. That project is really, really going well. Originally, we had planned to finish construction in November of next year and open up in early 2015. But through a couple of decisions that we made and just good work on the part of leadership and the construction crew over there, we're ahead of schedule. We're also a little bit ahead of budget. So the plan right now is to finish construction in August of next year and open up in mid-September, which is great news. The hospital is very, very busy and very full. And again, as we get that tower open up a nice new 32-bed ICU and a new emergency department, 6 new operating rooms. The infrastructure, the technology, and the capacity is really central to our ability to accommodate the trauma program. Also, I'm happy to report that we have a very safe work site. about a year and a half of construction out there, we have no workplace injuries and no lost work days. So the construction crew from Kitchell and their associated subcontractors have been doing a wonderful job with that construction project. Also, we have a new facility going up out on the west side. St. Joseph's Westgate will be our newest facility opening next April. This is a small, let me see what happens when I push this button here. There we go. Let me back up. So that's what it looks like now. That's the frame of the hospital. This St. Joseph's Westgate is starting out as a 24-bed hospital and an emergency room with about 24 bays, a couple ORs, a couple of endoscopy suites. The idea is to start off with a fairly small, mostly ambulatory campus. But we have enough property out there as the population grows to continue to grow and expand and really build a full-service hospital over time. So the construction project is moving along. Again, we'll be opening next April, and that's what it's going to look like when it's done. So beautiful place. And what else can I tell you? I don't want to tell you this, but I will anyway. We will be looking to post jobs for St. Joseph's Westgate in November and December of this year. None of you can apply. Optum 360. Let me talk about a few cost-related issues and other organizational changes. I think you're all aware of the changes that are happening with Optum 360. We made the announcement a few weeks ago that Dignity Health has formed a new joint venture company with Optum. Optum is a subsidiary of United Healthcare. And this new company, Optum 360, will provide revenue cycle management services to Dignity Health as well as to hospitals and health systems around the country. So this is really a new business model for Dignity Health, a new partnership whereby we have formed a new for-profit company, taken expertise that we have in revenue cycle management services, partnered up with a new company, Optum, with a company called Optum that brings to the table a lot of technology and a lot of processes and a lot of experience. And we see a great opportunity to take that new company out to the market and provide those services to other hospitals and health systems that need those services. There's a ton of change going on in the healthcare system with respect to payment, reimbursement, incentives, all the things that you all know very well. Hospitals and health systems need help in adapting to those changes. And Dignity Health leadership saw a real opportunity here to take some things we do very well, partner up with a company that can bring some new resources to the table and offer services around the country that will represent a new revenue stream for this organization in changing times, and also allow us to improve the efficiency and the work that we do today. So again, I think as you all know, there are a number of departments that kind of make up the revenue cycle function, and they're listed there: admitting, the central business office, patient financial services. I don't need to read them all. But the implications for the employees that now work in these areas are that their employment will be transitioning from Dignity Health to Optum 360 when the transition happens. And the actual startup of the new company happens in September. The transition of employees from Dignity Health employment to Optum 360 will happen at the end of December. So the good news is that folks that work in these areas will continue to work in these areas. Nobody will relocate. Everybody that is working in these particular departments will continue to stay in the same locations, doing the same jobs, serving Dignity Health. They will have a new employer. They will be an employee of Optum 360. Salaries won't change. There will be some changes in the benefit structure, and there will be an open enrollment period and a lot of information coming out quite soon about what those benefits might look like under Optum 360. But those folks that are part of the Dignity Health family, providing revenue cycle functions today, will continue to be part of the Dignity Health family and will continue to work in the same locations doing those same jobs. They also will have opportunities, though. I hope nobody chooses to take advantage of opportunity and leave Mercy Gilbert, but with this new company, people the folks that work in these areas really are getting in on the ground floor of what essentially is a new startup, and a company that we anticipate growing quickly over time and serving many organizations around the country. So I think it's fair to say that Optum 360 will provide professional growth opportunities beyond what folks may have had within Dignity Health. So if people are interested in new opportunities, I think this change will provide more than have existed in the past. So There are about 180 employees of Dignity Health here in the East Valley that will be impacted by the change. There are about 140 up at St. Joe's, and in total across Dignity Health, there are about 1,800 staff members that will make the transition from Dignity Health employment to Opt-in 360. Happy to answer questions about that. Aramark. Let me talk about Aramark. We are also undergoing a change in food services and environmental services across Dignity Health. Again, I think most of you are aware of this. We are moving toward, across the entire organization, an outsourced arrangement for leadership in those two departments, environmental services and food services. Leadership in those areas will transition their employment from Dignity Health to Aramark. And I've given you some information on timelines. Actually, the information, the detailed information about the transition is still really in the works. But at the end of this month, which is next week, I and other members of the leadership team within Dignity Health Arizona will be meeting with Aramark and really hearing more about the detailed transition plan for Aramark joining our organization. Aramark will be meeting with impacted employees at the end of September. And we'll be spending a lot of time in our organization in September and October analyzing how we do things, what the scope of work is within food services and environmental services, and then working on a detailed transition plan. The transition itself will happen mid-November. You see November 11th is the starting point, and the transition will be complete by the end of November. So this is a big change. And I've said before that I wish I could stand up here and say that the change in healthcare is slowing down. But there's a lot I've never experienced, I don't think any of us have experienced the kind of environment that we're facing right now and the changes that are going on in the environment around us. Dignity Health is working on a number of initiatives, this being one of them, that is intended to both improve quality, standardize how we approach certain services across the organization, and achieve cost savings that will allow us to be competitive, kind of in the new world of healthcare. So big changes. We hope and anticipate that leadership in these areas that have served us so well historically will remain here and be part of this organization. And we will learn more and be sharing more over the next couple months as we work toward this transition with Aramark. Let me share with you some of the financial results for fiscal year 2013 for Mercy Gilbert and the Arizona market. We had a very strong year financially in the Arizona market and across Dignity Health. Let me point you down toward the bottom of the table you're seeing where on the left it says YTD, year to date. Those are our end of year, fiscal year 2013 financial results. You see the leftmost column is Chandler, the middle column is Mercy Gilbert, and on the right you have the two combined. So, and this is our bottom line, EBITDA at the top, earnings before interest, depreciation, and amortization. That's basically our bottom line financial performance for the year. You can see at Chandler that we had a target or a budget of about $49 million. See that 49,126? And our actual performance just above it was close to $51 million. So we actually exceeded our bottom line target at Chandler by about $1.6 million. At Mercy in the middle, we had a target of $51 million. Our performance was just about $41 million. So we missed our budget by about $10 million in bottom line performance here at Mercy. So it's kind of a bad news, good news story. The bad news is we missed our budget target by $10 million. That's a big number. The good news, and you won't see it on this slide, but you'll see it on another slide, is that, well, two things actually. Our bottom line here at Mercy Gilbert went up by about 11% from the previous year. So what does that tell you about our budget target for last year? We had an incredibly aggressive budget target. For us to see bottom line improvement of 11%, and we still missed it by that much, we had a fairly unrealistic budget expectation here at Mercy. And we've talked a little bit about that before. Dignity Health looks to Mercy Gilbert as a real growth engine, given what's going on in the environment around us. The population is growing, the payer mix is quite favorable. Here in the East Valley, Chandler having been so full, the assumption is that Chandler can't grow much more, so we put these very large growth expectations over here on Mercy. And we've done that for a couple of years, and while we have grown, we haven't grown quite as fast or as much as the budget targets. We've actually modified our expectations a little bit for 2014 to try to be a little bit more realistic. But the other piece of the good news is when you look down at the bottom of that table, you see some percentages. Those percentages are basically our bottom line profit percentages. And you see Mercy Gilbert had a target of 20.6%, and we hit 17.6%. That's the top number within Dignity Health. So Mercy Gilbert continues to be, on a percentage basis, the top performing hospital within the entire company. And Chandler is a close second. So that's great news. It really is strong financial performance. We are in very good shape here at Mercy Gilbert. Population is growing, volume is growing. I'll show you some year-over-year volume changes here in a minute. But it was a very strong year, and I anticipate moving into the new year that we'll have an even stronger year in 2014.
Tim, could I
Yeah.
always have to throw my 2 cents.
Yes, 2 cents in. Throw in more than that, would you, Jane?
Well, budget, I thought I'd say 2 cents. I just want to thank everybody here because a lot of the performance that Mercy Gilbert had was because of excellent expense management. You know, we focus a lot on our revenue and our growth, but really embedded in that success is how everybody pulled together and managed expense, so thank you.
Yep, thank you. So a few highlights. Both hospitals, as you saw, increased our bottom line performance year over year. At the same time, both of our hospitals had the highest bad debt and charity care expense in our history. A reflection of what was going on in the economy. A lot of people still struggling with jobs. So at the same time that we had incredibly high bad debt write-offs and provided just an awful lot of charity care, we still had significant improvements in our financial performance. And as Jane said, that has a lot to do with careful expense management on your part. So great work there. We also continue to see benefits from our transformational care efforts in both hospitals, and you can see that we had cost reductions of just over $6.3 million at Chandler and nearly $2 million here in Mercy Gilbert as a result of the transformational care work that we're doing at both hospitals. Mercy Gilbert in particular, you see that we grew, as I said, close to 11% in our year-over-year performance. So this table shows you some year-over-year comparisons at the two hospitals, volume comparisons. Acute admissions, those are our inpatient admissions at the two hospitals. We were up 2.6% at Chandler year-over-year, essentially flat at Mercy, or a little bit of a drop of almost 1%. That drop in acute admissions at Mercy Gilbert was due 100% to the change in orthopedics. So with core leaving, Ortho Arizona coming in, Ortho Arizona has brought a lot of patient volume, and we're getting back to close to where we were. We weren't quite there yet as we closed the year. So when you look at what drove the small drop in inpatient admissions, it was entirely orthopedics. And that will change this year, so that's good news. Our adjusted admissions, the adjusted admissions is a reflection of kind of a combination of the inpatient work and the outpatient volume that we do at the hospitals. And the numbers are good there. Our adjusted admissions were up just over 2% at Chandler, 3.7% here at Mercy, so we had very strong growth in outpatient services here. Our average daily census was down a bit at both hospitals, almost 1% at Chandler and almost 4% here. That is an interesting number to look at. It's actually a good thing. If you think about it, we have inpatient admissions that are about flat or growing, but our census is actually down. You know what drives that? Length of stay reductions. And that's a good thing. So we're actually moving our patients through more quickly and efficiently and getting them home. So actually those numbers being down is not a bad thing as long as our admission volume is strong. Inpatient surgeries were very, very strong at Chandler, up about 11%, down about 6% here at Mercy year over year, but again, due entirely 110% due to orthopedics being down, and that volume's coming back. So in all other specialties, we were very, very strong. Deliveries, we had a record year for babies here at Mercy. We delivered 2,877 babies. You impressed that I know that number? 2,877 babies here at Mercy last year, which was an increase of 8.5% year over year, and a record number. We were up about 3% at Chandler. Emergency department visits were up just over 1.2%, and that's a really good number to see. If you remember last year, we saw a really significant drop in ED volume here. We put a lot of work under April's leadership into improving our patient experience, which historically had always been strong, but what we had seen was some competition from other facilities opening ERs around us, and we saw volume move away. We put a lot of work into a number of initiatives to strengthen our ED volume, and it paid off, and we saw year-over-year increases last year in the emergency department. Outpatient surgeries were down a little bit. That's a reflection partly of orthopedics and partly a move from outpatient surgery happening in hospitals to happening in ambulatory surgery centers and happening in doctors' offices, particularly in some specialties. The cath lab, we saw a fairly significant drop here, mostly having to do with some of Dr. Deeb's research activities. He's one of our two very busy cardiologists here. He's been doing a lot more traveling and research in other areas, and we saw a little bit lower volume from Dr. Deeb here doing actual cardiac cath work. But I think we'll see that work come back in the new year with Dr. Deeb, as well as with the arrangement we have with the cardiologist. And then surgeries, you see that our open heart surgery work over at Chandler was up. And then the bottom numbers on that chart are our bottom line financial performance, up over 25% at Chandler and up nearly 11% here at Mercy. So very strong financial performance. It's good news. I'm going to move right on past this slide. It's a reflection of the ACO, the Arizona Care Network. We've talked about the fact that we've developed an ACO. We're participating in the Medicare Shared Savings Program. This is a graphic description of it that's probably too complicated to explain. But we've got about 1,300 doctors in our network right now. We've got about 30,000 Medicare recipients who receive care through the Arizona Care Network, and that we are responsible for taking care of them. So that's very good news, and those numbers continue to grow. Connectivity, we had our kickoff for the Cerner Go Live in July, and our target date is May of 2014 for the Go Live. So there's a lot of work to be done between now and then. And you see the various dates and phases of the Go Live.
Can we just ask for a show of hands of people who've started going to the meetings?
Yeah, so how many of you have started to attend Cerner meetings? Looks like probably close to half the group. It's going to be a busy year. It's going to be a lot of work going into this transition, and we're excited about the May timeframe for our actual Go Live. And then finally, I want to close by sharing with you the 3 television spots that have been running locally and nationally around the human kindness movement. So, Jared, maybe you could run the videos for us, and can you make it full screen?
Another dark corner of teen life, cyberbullying, using the internet or cell phones.
A wave of violent protest is happening right now.
Putting other drivers in danger.
Lost the track, struggled back. I wanted easy stuff to please me. Something in the dark began to squeeze me. Seen it there, been there in the mirror.
Aren't those great? How many of you have seen those on TV? Awesome videos, aren't they? They're just fabulous. One of the things that I find so kind of inspiring and interesting about them is there's nothing really directly related to healthcare on those. It's about kindness. It's about being good to one another and bringing that spirit with you into what we do every day, where it's particularly impactful. So it's exciting. It makes me really proud to be part of an organization that in the midst of all the craziness that's going on in the world around us and in the healthcare environment, we're staying focused on what we're all about. And in some ways, I actually think it's, the other thing that makes me proud is it feels a little bit as if the spirit of Mercy Gilbert and the healing spirit of this organization is being moved across the entire organization. So it's really a wonderful movement. It's not a campaign; it's a movement, and I really welcome all of your stories about human kindness. One other recognition that I forgot to mention, and that is I don't think is April here? April from the emergency department? Out of town. The emergency department here at Mercy Gilbert for all of fiscal year 2013 was rated by our patients as top in the entire system for nursing care. So when I showed you some of those results for volume coming back in our emergency department, we are the best of the best in terms of what patients say about our nursing care. So that was fabulous work. So congratulations. So I am finished with any formal comments. Let's open it up for questions, comments, anything that might be on your mind. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question about the process of how they decided to go into this arrangement with Optum.
So the question was, how did Dignity Health decide to go into the arrangement with Optum? Is that right? Well, that's a good question. Yeah, a couple things. One, I think Dignity Health, as leadership in this organization, looks at what's going on in the environment around us. There's a lot of change coming, and we realize that we need to adapt. And Dignity Health's leadership has continuously looked for opportunities to grow and expand into new areas that will make us better at what we do and also represent new opportunities for growth. You've heard us talk a lot about growth within Dignity Health over the last couple of years. And that includes growing in the businesses that we currently provide. It also means looking for new business opportunities that take advantage of some of the new dynamics in healthcare. And this was one of them. So I talked earlier about the fact that there's a lot of change going on in how hospitals and doctors are being paid for the services that we provide. And hospitals and doctors and health systems will need a lot of help in figuring out how to manage all those changes. Dignity Health leadership saw an opportunity there to provide a service that we can benefit from and that others can benefit from across the country. So I think part of the answer was just being attentive to what's going on in the world around us and capitalizing on opportunities that we see. The other thing that Jane pointed out is that leadership of the organization went through what we refer to as an ethical discernment process, which is a process that both evaluates the business case for something like this sort of change, but also reflects very carefully on the implications for the mission of the organization and the values of the organization to make sure that the change that we're considering is consistent with the heritage and the mission and the spirit of this organization. And that was a very deliberative process that Lloyd Dean and the other leaders of the organization went through with our sister sponsors. So I think it's a combination of really being attentive to the market and looking for opportunities to adapt and be better, and also staying true to who we are and really putting thought into how this sort of change fits with the mission of the organization and making sure that as we implement it, we do so in ways that are consistent with our values. Does that make sense?
It does. I have a second part of that
Okay,
question.
second part.
That being the case, with the cultures being so different between for-profit and not-for-profit, it seems like right out of the gate, the difference.
Yeah. So Optum is a for-profit company. Dignity Health is a not-for-profit. So the question really is about, or the observation is about the cultures being quite different right out of the gate between a nonprofit and a for-profit. I think it's a very good observation and something that, again, Dignity Health leadership has been and will continue to be very attentive to, and we will be very attentive to the relationship between the two organizations. Optum 360, the new company, is a for-profit company. But I would say this, just because a company is a for-profit company does not mean it can't be reflective of the values that we hold dear within Dignity Health. And as Dignity Health structured the relationship between the two organizations, contractually and in the legal documentation that serves to sort of guide the relationship, there are an awful lot of protections in the relationship for our employees, for the mission, for the values of this organization. So for example, as employees transitioned from employment with Dignity Health to employment with Optum 360, part of that ethical discernment process, part of the protections that we made sure were in the agreements were things like folks don't have to reapply for their jobs. People don't have to move to a new location. Salaries won't be impacted. I mentioned that there will be some modification of benefits, but there will be a very rich, generous benefit package within Optum, as there always has been within Dignity, with some changes. But those sorts of protections that Dignity Health Leadership ensured were in the agreements are part of the effort to make sure that this new organization operates in ways that are consistent with our mission and our values, despite the fact that Optum 360 will be a for-profit organization. And the other thing I would say is we need to stay attentive to that over time. I mean, we just have to make sure that we as leaders in this organization continue to ensure that that Optum 360 operates in ways that are consistent with our mission and our values as an organization, because Optum 360 will continue, and the employees that work for Optum 360 are part of our family. They're here every day interfacing with our patients and us, and we continue to be part of the same family. So I think we have a significant responsibility here at the local level also to make sure that in some ways things don't change, even though part of the badge might change, the for-profit nature of the organization is a little bit different than what we're used to. It's part of our responsibility to make sure that we continue to live by our values as we always have. Other questions? Come on up.
Poor Tim. Can't I guess, stop me from having 2 cents to say. I'm proud to chair the community board. It's actually an advisory board for both Chandler Regional and Mercy Gilbert, made up of about 24 people. Dr. Hesse is one of those people. We have the privilege of assisting the administration manage both of these hospitals. And our chief goal, I suppose, besides assuring the quality of medical staff, is assuring the quality of the care that goes on here. And on behalf of the board, I want to thank you for all that you all have been doing, because it's a fine place. And it's only because of you that it is, so thank you.
Thank you, sister. You know, the board members spend countless hours with us, and they do so on a volunteer basis. Because we're a nonprofit organization, we are overseen by a volunteer board. And Sister Nancy spends more time, she works at downtown, yet she spends more time in this hospital than some of us, I think. And we are really grateful for her service and the service of her fellow board members. And what a great note to end on. I will end the town hall by thanking all of you for the great work that you do, for the spirit of kindness and compassion and love that you bring to what you do here at Mercy. And we are just so grateful for what you do, and thank you for everything. And if there's anything I can do to make your jobs easier and to make this organization more supportive of what you do, please don't hesitate to let us know. So thank you. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you around.